That would be a great theme, because I mean, again, looking at what you sent through this week and what we talked about, you have kind of diagnosed the strengths and weaknesses of, if you like, the choice, the East and the West. And you've also, and I think you're right, and I think Gellner conceded this as well, didn't he, with his essay on California and all that, that it is possible to, there are pockets of esoteric Eastern influenced lifestyle, which I think a lot of young people in particular are very interested in at the moment. I mean, I've got friends in America and I've got friends in Britain. The friends in Britain are all Buddhists, and or a lot of them are Buddhist or Stoic. I mean, Stoicism and the link between Stoicism and Buddhism is quite interesting. One of my friends has just done a PhD on it, showing how the old Greek classical schools of Epicureanism, Stoicism, and even ways of looking at Plato and stuff, there are ways of looking at well-being and how to live. Very different kind of model of philosophy than the philosophy you get nowadays in the West. But she was showing how the links between those schools of thought and Eastern schools, there's a lot in common. And somebody like Martha Nussbaum has been exploring this, and a guy called Haddo, I don't know whether you've heard of him.
Yes,
and he's written a lot, or he wrote a lot, he's dead now, I think, about this. And she's a Buddhist herself. She's from Taiwan, but she's a Buddhist herself, and for the last 2 or 3 years she's been sharing all this stuff. And another friend of mine who lives in New York, and she's very much into exploring Eastern spirituality and stuff like this. So, and she says that there's a whole set of underground art people and young people who are exploring a lot of this kind of stuff, which does resonate with 60s Beatles, hippie, and all that stuff that we had back then, which the 70s, my generation then got rid of. And then, but because we were unreconstructed nihilists, I think, at that point. But I think this is the way it's going to pan out. But I think showing the strengths of, so this would be interesting, wouldn't it, for having a kind of overview. How did the West get to be the West, which is what you've done, really, and then how and why then certain elements of that which seem positive at certain points are now turning negative. And I went through your the list you did about when we were talking about the post-truth stuff, and you sent me that list, and I thought, that we ought to just go through that list and get you just to talk about it, because I think there's a book in that. In your response to the McIntyre interview was brilliant. I actually, I hope you don't mind, I didn't say who you were. I just said, look, I sent your interview to a professor I know, a very distinguished professor, and he sent back these notes, and he wrote back almost immediately. He said, and I said, I'll be talking to him on Sunday. This was a couple of weeks ago. And he replied almost immediately, went, oh, wow, you know this guy? You're going to talk to him? This is going to be interesting. And so you can see that if the alternative is put on the table for these people, they can see that actually the limitation. Actually, he could see that how, exactly what you just said about his position, how limited it was, and how it wasn't able to engage with Weber, Bruno Latour, Kuhn, Bayesianism, Rise of China, Alice in Wonderland, 100 Things to Do Before Breakfast, all those things. He never came close to discussing that kind of stuff, and you don't see it. And that was, I think you did that as an immediate response without really and elaborating on that. That would be a fascinating starting point for discussing this issue of East and West now, which is the main thing. I thought it's interesting that around climate change, this is going to be a discussion that is forced on the table now, even with Biden last few days ago, whenever it was, saying that they're going to have to work with China despite everything. They're going to